Welcome back to the Luminary Shop. I'm Rick and I appreciate you tuning in. Now I recorded these next few videos several months ago. I was just thinking about starting the video channel then, and I was using an inexpensive point and shoot camera, and I wasn't savvy enough to understand the problems that I could get into when it came to the copyrights about music and so forth that I was playing in the shop. So this video will sometimes lack in technique as far as focus and framing, etc. And I had to remove the soundtrack so that I wouldn't get into trouble with the copyrights on the music. Now I'll try to be more comprehensive with my voiceover to explain what I'm doing. But these lamps are important enough and unique enough that I thought you ought to see this video. So you'll hear what I discovered about the glass and when I figured out who actually manufactured these lamps. Now I don't want to give everything away, and this restoration has several steps. So let's get started. These are the lamps as I originally found them. I was drawn to the overall design and the shape of the glass and the fact that the glass was all there and in pretty good shape other than a bit of scratching. The lamps are generally complete. The only real problem with them is the fact that someone tried to electrify them at one time and drilled this hole in the lamp. I'll have to deal with that. These scratches and rough spots don't look like much now, but when these lamps are all polished up and looking good, they'll stand out like a sore thumb. I'll take this glass to Bob's Glassworks and he'll polish out those scratches for me so that when these lamps are all done, that glass will be clear and bright. The oil pots are completely rusted out with holes completely through the metal. I'll have to spin new pieces and replace that. Other than that, the burners and the threads all work pretty well. I'll start out by removing the heads and the tails. And there's a mud wasp nest nestled deep in the top of the lamp. It's really not that unusual to find these. It's a good idea to remove this hinged door just to prevent the possibility of breaking it at some point. And now I'll remove the individual panels of glass. I have to take care here that I don't apply the heat in a manner that would crack or break the glass. As I get these glass panels taken off, I start to notice that each one is a bit unique. While they're very similar, each one has a little bit different shape and a little bit different of thickness of glass and so on, indicating the handmade nature of these glass panels. At this point, I'm just making sure that those door frames are solidly attached and are not going to move, because this is where I will start on my reassembly of the lamp. The door panels establish the position of all the glass, so I just want to make sure that it's positioned correctly. I'll number each piece of glass and make a diagram denoting where on the lamp it was originally located. Once they're all taken apart, this is what the bodies of the lamps look like. I'll clean them up with sandpaper and wire brushes in preparation for the next step, which is repairing the silver plating. After several hours of polishing and cleaning, it's revealed that for the most part the silver liners are in good shape, except for the floor of the lamp, where it's worn through and the brass is showing. I'll use a brush plating technique to restore the silver where it's worn thin. The first step is to clean the metal with a cyanide-based solution. Now this can be pretty hazardous chemical to use, and so I make sure that I have good ventilation while I'm using it. Rubber gloves and eye protection are a must when using these chemicals. The coatolite is a cyanide-based solution that provides a pathway for the silver ions to travel from a silver bar to the part that you're trying to plate with silver. I connect the negative lead to the part that I'm wanting the silver to attach to, and the positive lead is connected to a silver bar called the anode. There's a cotton sock surrounding the anode that I'll soak with the coatolite, and as I rub it on the part with 10 volts of direct current, the electricity serves to help the ions pass from the silver bar to the part. I have a good coating of silver that I'll be able to polish to a high shine. But what's that I see? A maker's mark. C. Coles from New Haven, Connecticut. More about that later. Bob did a great job getting these pieces of glass smoothed out and polished. But now you may notice some of the slight irregularities requiring that I get the right bezels put on each piece of glass. I'll make sure that the seam is located at the bottom of each piece of glass. And tape the bezels on the glass so that I can be sure that the joints are tight and smooth when I solder them together. It only takes a small spot of solder to hold everything together while I polish these bezels and get them ready and then solder them onto the lamps. This is just a preliminary polishing, just to clean everything up and get them ready to solder onto the lamp bodies. The final polishing will come after everything's put together. This is the drawing that I made to make sure that I get each piece of glass put in the right place. Both of the off or right hand lamp and the near or left hand lamp. It's drawn from the top looking down, and each piece of glass is designated with its number and position so that I can correctly put them where they belong. I put the door on first so that I can be sure that it fits correctly into the channels where it's supposed to go on top and bottom, and then each subsequent piece of glass is positioned off of the door panel. I won't solder the door on at this point because I need to take it back off, but it will help me do the positioning of all the other pieces. These long strips will not actually be soldered to the door. They're the pieces that the door shuts up against, sort of like a door jamb. You'll see as we go along. I'll use little pills of solder that I've snipped off the long roll so that I can control more accurately just where that solder flows to. Now I can place each piece in its proper position, tape it down securely, and tack it in place. Once I'm sure all the glass is exactly where I want it, I can go about the business of soldering it all permanently in place. On a lamp like this, I'll skip around and go from spot to spot on each bezel so that I don't build up too much heat in any one place on the glass. It's just a little safer and a little less likely to break this irreplaceable glass. And now I'll take the door panel off so that I can get to those long strips that I started earlier. I'll solder them to each of the adjacent pieces of glass, adjacent to the door that is, and they'll form a seal when the door is shut. Well, I started here, took the lamps down to this, and now I've built them back up to this point. So next week I'll start working on completing the assembly and getting toward the finishing up of this historic pair of lamps. Until then, thanks for watching.